Welcome to the Touro University Graduate School of Technology. We're excited to host tonight's workshop presented by our Instructional Technology program, featuring the incredible Professor Holly Owens. With over 18 years in instructional design, Holly is a respected educator, podcast host, and LinkedIn thought leader, helping professionals break into the world of learning and development. Get ready for expert insights on optimizing your LinkedIn, building your network, and advancing your career. Please join me in welcoming Professor Holly Owens.
Hi, thank you so much. And I just put in the chat, I do see some familiar faces and names in the chat of some current former students. So I'm happy that you all are here and spending the evening with me to talk about no other than LinkedIn. I do want to say that this should be very conversational because this is for you. When you're thinking about your LinkedIn profile, how to optimize things, and networking strategies to land a role in learning and development. And that includes instructional technology, that includes instructional design, that includes e-learning development, that includes a whole bunch of different umbrella other terms that you may or may not be familiar with. So let's get started. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about my background and share a little bit about my LinkedIn story as well. So I've been in the instructional design field for over 18 years now. I've been teaching at Touro since 2018 and teaching in higher ed since 2012. Prior to coming to higher education and being an instructional designer, I was a high school teacher. So I did that for 4 years at the beginning of my career. Then I transitioned into higher education, which provided more opportunities for me. I really love creating those impactful, inclusive learning experiences and really, out on LinkedIn world, I post jobs that have to do with L&D. I post, international and US based domestic roles. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're seeing job postings for me. And I really have a passion for this field and helping people who want to transition into a role in, say, instructional design. And then I also host a podcast called EdUp Learning and Development, where I like to share my experiences, but I also like to bring in the experts to talk about, salary transparency, or talk about also like LinkedIn, how to land a role in a certain sector. So if you want to find out more information, definitely go out to my podcast. We've done a few different things about LinkedIn. And I've had some great guests on there, like Chelsea Malt Averett, who runs the EdSkip website, which she posts remote roles that are 60K or more. Sometimes they're location specific, so you have to be in a certain state. But other than that, they're 60K or more, and she's posted a lot of great roles over the past few months. I'm seeing more and more because the summertime's coming out, so people are going to be, especially teachers, are going to be transitioning out. I would encourage you to go ahead and open up your LinkedIn page. If you don't have one, start creating one now. I'm going to give you some tips and tools that you can use in order to optimize your profile. I know we use all the buzzwords, but it's really just make it better. Really, everybody start somewhere. So making sure that you have signed up for LinkedIn, you have a LinkedIn profile, especially even if you're not looking for a role, it's important to network. Always, I say, keep one hand out there in the world because people job hunt and job jump so often nowadays. One of the things I want to emphasize to you is why LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn has been around for over, I think, almost 2 decades now. It's the leading professional network. It's where people go to actually find jobs, connect with other people. I've gotten job offers, contract roles, just talking to other people. It has a variety of different purposes. And as an active job seeker or somebody who wants to showcase their skills, or, maybe if you want to transition out of teaching and go into something like e-learning development, or you want to be an accessibility specialist, it's very important for you to have a LinkedIn profile. Almost every job that I've applied for, and I forgot to mention my current role, which I will in a minute. I had to present my LinkedIn profile. Not present, but I had to share it. It's something that's a part of the application process. And I rarely see where people don't require that as part of the application process. So it's important that you have a LinkedIn profile. I know some people I'm going to try to avoid it as long as I can, but now's the time. Especially if you're thinking about transitioning into a different role, especially in this field. So one of the things I forgot to mention about my journey is that Although I have all this experience in instructional design, my LinkedIn journey really started. I signed up for LinkedIn like when it first came out, but I think it was back in 2011. And I really didn't pay attention to it much. It was just something that I got an inbox request every once in a while. I would see somebody wanted to connect with me and I'd be like, okay, I'll connect with them. And then I'd be on for 5 seconds and then I left. And then in January, February of 2020, right before COVID hit, I told myself, I said, you know what? I said, I think it's important that as a professional now, like I kind of consider myself on the back nine of my career, even though I'm gonna work until like 65 or more. I was like, I want to connect with people. I just want to talk and maybe have 15-minute coffee chats about what people are currently doing, if they're looking to transition, about their history of like looking for jobs, what was good, what was bad, and obviously through those conversations, more conversations happen. And I started out with about 50 followers on LinkedIn when I first really started getting into the game. So one of the things I decided, those coffee chats obviously were the starting point for me. Having those conversations with people and these coffee chats, some of my very best friends and colleagues have come from those. And what I noticed is that we all had like a common theme kind of running through us when we were having these conversations. There was a lot of imposter syndrome. There was a lot of I'm afraid to ask about salary conversations. There was a lot of like, I'm just not happy where I am. There's a toxic work environment. I'm not doing what I'm passionate about, or I'm not doing something that's related to my degree, which I really want to do. So a lot of common themes started to emerge, and that's when I said, okay, so what can we do about this? Like, can we follow each other? So then I decided to start the podcast, and it was called Ed Up Ed Tech. And then fast forward 4 years later, the podcast still exists. It's transitioned into Ed Up L&D. And then I have gone from 50 followers in 2020. And as I sit now, I have over 44,000. That is because I am not an overnight sensation. It's taken 5 years to do that. If that's something that you're interested in doing and growing your network, I would definitely listen to some of the tips and advice. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that you're going to have to, especially with the networking and developing your profile, you're going to have to take a few minutes a day, probably 20 minutes, 25 minutes, optimizing your profile. And we're going to get into all that. But I just wanted to sit here and say that I've done this and I know the hard work it takes behind and the conversations that you have to have. And it's especially difficult, I want to point out, for some of the introverts in the room. Like I'm an introverted extrovert. I mean, I see you all in class and it's a little bit different because I feel like I know you, but outside of class I become a little bit quiet. I kind of analyze, I kind of listen. So LinkedIn is a place for me where I can voice my opinion about stuff. I can, connect with other people that I wouldn't had the opportunity to connect with if it wasn't for LinkedIn. For example, one of the first people I met is Luke Hobson. So I talk about him in class, and you read the book if you're in the program in 623. And he's one of my very closest instructional design friends, and I actually got to meet him in person a few years ago. That would have never happened without LinkedIn. We talk about optimizing. We really want to make things better. And it's overwhelming to set up something that's available in public for the world to see and that you're sharing in job applications. You're like, I want to put my best foot forward, but this is a dynamic experience when it comes to setting up your LinkedIn profile. So it's always going to change. There's always going to be something you can tweak. There's always going to be something that maybe you need to add, you need to give more recommendations, or you need to get more recommendations, or you need to add more skills, or have people actually say that you have those skills. So I want to take this time to tell you that this is something that's a process and that it's going to be changing as you're developing your profile. One of the things when I work with people who want to transition out of certain roles is they're like, but my profile's not perfect or my portfolio's not perfect. That's never going to happen. I promise it's going to get to a point where you feel like you're just making smaller tweaks, but in order for you to optimize things, you have to be comfortable not making it perfect. So if you're a perfectionist in the room, please, you're not going to be able to make it perfect. So here are some tips for basically, optimizing your LinkedIn profile. I'm going to say that although I have a plethora of followers on LinkedIn, I still change all these things on a consistent basis because I'm changing roles. I'm changing maybe beliefs or morals, or changing, like things that I want to talk about. So my LinkedIn profile is dynamic and it's constantly evolving. So the headline, a lot of people focus on this. It definitely needs to target the learning and development field. So, as a transitioning teacher, it's very difficult. And I listen to a lot of teachers about, like, I'm trying to get a role in learning and development or instructional design. People don't respect me. They don't think I have, what it takes to be an instructional designer or an instructional technologist. Well, that's not true. And I have seen job postings before when people are like, we don't hire transitioning teachers. Screw you. We don't want to work there anyways. So crafting that compelling headline is really important, because that's one of the first things that people see when they click on your profile. Or even if they search you and look you up, that's what they're gonna see. So make sure that you have a compelling a compelling headline. I would say that one of the things you should do is use AI to kind of generate some ideas. And I often use this to generate some ideas. And I always tell AI, because it's probably ChatGPT has probably learned a lot about who I am, to make it sound like me, not to make it sound AI-ish. And then I added my own take on it and tone as well. Really look at other people who are in the field, get advice from them as well. Test the headline on other people and see if they're like, hey, is this compelling enough? Your about section. Tell your story. And while we want to keep it professional, I would also say to kind of sprinkle in some about you and what you like to do. I mean, my whole life revolves around learning and development and training other people and helping other people. I also like to do things outside of work, like golf and run and those different types of things. So I kind of try to, mimic that in my profile and show people that it's just not about work. So telling your story, highlighting key achievements, and showcasing your passion for learning and development. You teachers in the room, you have a true passion for learning, and there's something special about you. And I'm not just saying that because I was one. It's very difficult for people to understand what pedagogy is, and outside of the K through 12 space, especially in higher ed and corporate, they don't understand learning sciences and things that surround that. So the next one, show your relevant skills, curate your work experience. Those things kind of go hand in hand. I'm definitely going to show you my LinkedIn profile. You need a picture, any like sort of articles you've written, the relevant media, any videos, podcasts, things that you've done. I mentioned recommendations. Give them as much as you get them, because it's important to see that not only people are recommending you, but you're recommending other people and supporting them and their LinkedIn efforts as well. One of the things I'll say is that staying active and engaged is probably the top thing on this that is going to help you get recognized and spread your quote unquote brand. So if you're posting once during the week and then you're not on at all, LinkedIn's algorithm is going to give you some good impressions with the first post because it's set up that way. But if you're not active and staying active, like, kind of do a routine for yourself. The job postings keep me accountable. So I try to do this by like 12 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if I don't do it, I do it later in the day. I'm like, oh, I might have missed an opportunity. There's certain times a day when postings get more recognition. So it's a combination of all these different things when you're trying to optimize the profile. And I would start with a few, do your headline, get your professional pictures. And you don't have to go out and hire a professional photographer to do headshots. You can sit on your Mac or your PC and take a picture and then put it into Canva or some other tool and make it professional. My LinkedIn profile pic and the one you just saw in the About Me, I just did that when I was doing a podcast one time, and I was like, okay, I need a new profile pic. So I just put it in the Canva and put the yellow background on it. So it's really important to stay active and engaged. And I did forget to mention, I'm the director of growth marketing at Yellow Dig, which is an ed tech company. We're a community-based platform, and I did not apply to this job. This role was created for me. The CEO of my company was on my podcast 3 times, and he's seen my growth out on LinkedIn World. So he's like, I think you'd be a great fit for this role based off of your experience in instructional design, because it's still has a lot of transferable skills there. So I just want to say LinkedIn and podcasting have led me to where I am today. So here, that's great segue into some networking strategies. And one of the things that I would say, you're doing it right now. You're attending industry events, get to know the people in the room that you're in the Zoom room with, get to know the presenter, get to know the co-host, whoever is a part of the conversation. I know it's a little hard to like kind of do this in a digital space, but People share emails, people might share their phone numbers, people might share like they're out on a Slack channel that you can communicate with them on. So make sure that you're attending these events and you're talking to people regularly. If you're part of a program like the ITP program, you'll find that you will develop this sense of community over time in the program. Like you'll get to know people and they know people. And so like for every 5 interactions that you have with one, like a person, 5 people, that's like you can maybe 10 times that. That's like 50 people that other people might know. So it just grows from there. You think like one person doesn't have a lot but of like power, or they don't know a lot of people, but they really, really do. Participate in the online community. So I run a LinkedIn group called the Instructional Designers in Higher Education. There's e-learning industry. Tim Slade has some stuff. There's all kinds of online groups. Pick and choose what you think works best for you. I would say if you're thinking about leaving teaching and going into instructional design, decide what sector you want to go into. Do you want to go into corporate? Do you want to go into education? Do you want to, or like higher education? Do you want to go into government? Do you want to freelance? Because there's groups out on LinkedIn World that are targeting and they're just narrow focused on those things. Informational interviews. I think this is a great one. This is not necessarily something that I did at the beginning when I started networking on LinkedIn. Not interviewing, but talking to people who are in the industry that you want to be in and asking them and honoring. Let me tell you, this community out on LinkedIn, the learning and development people, is very giving. They will give you time, they will give you advice, they will give you resources, but please, 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 we do a lot of us do these things for free. So just be cognizant of that. And if they do offer you time, it's because they are a person that wants to give back. So doing these things is important to us. We want to train the future instructional designers, or we want to make sure that somebody feels, especially in the current climate of like jobs being eliminated in our government, we want to make sure people feel comfortable and confident transitioning into a different role. Volunteer mentor. Is there an opportunity? I know it's not the best case scenario if you're not getting paid for it. Is there an opportunity for you to do something with a quick project with a nonprofit that may or may not be paid for? Is there something where you can create something yourself? I worked with a client, let's see, about 2 years ago, and one of the things that she did, and this was very, very unique, is she's going into the office one day and she's thinking about transitioning, going into instructional design, and she's like, her coffee shop that she goes to regularly always has this long line. She's like, why is it always this long line? Like what's going on there? And come to find out, after she started having some conversations with the baristas, and it wasn't Starbucks, it was another it was like a homegrown company, or like a mom and pop shop. She found that the cashiers and some of the people working in the back or preparing the drinks and stuff weren't getting proper training. And through that, she found a freelance opportunity. So she talked to the manager of the coffee shop and she developed some training opportunities for people to kind of mitigate these issues like, messed up orders, long lines, dissatisfied customers. And what she found was that as she started implementing these trainings and the manager too, like things started to improve. So she got recognized for that. And then she was able to use that as a portfolio piece moving forward in her pursuit of an instructional design career. So like she was just thinking about like everything I see is like it's design, it's instructional design. Like how can this improve? How can we make things better? So if you have that opportunity, please volunteer or mentor or get a mentor if you want one and ask around about like people who can help and support you. Alumni stuff. I mean, we've all been through undergrad, masters, if a lot of you are in the program. Alumni relations has a lot of contacts. They have a lot of people, like when you graduated, I think I graduated from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and there's probably 20,000 alumni in my class. So that's a lot of people. So be in touch with them, connect with them, connect with the one here at Toro. Like, how do you connect with and network with people that you've maybe been in programs with, or they've been through the program, maybe not necessarily in your graduation year, or they successfully transitioned. I've had at least 10 or so students who have successfully transitioned from teaching into instructional design. And they are very happy. And they've even transitioned after that. They've transitioned to like a leadership role in instructional design. So it's important for you to stay connected to alumni and the people that you go through the program with as well. And using LinkedIn to do that makes it very easy. I'm not just saying all these things like, just because I've experienced it myself. There really is some data behind this. So when you're talking to people out on LinkedIn world, it's like those informational interviews, like those coffee chats that I did. That's 65% of the way people gain access or awareness about different types of careers or different types of jobs that are available. Like when back in October of 2024, I took a leave of absence. I was working at Amazon Pharmacy and I was like, they want to return to office. And I'm like, nope. I've been a remote worker for this long now. I'm not returning to office. And I have some like personal family things that prevent me from going into an office. So I was like, nope, that's not happening. And just because I had chatted with people about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to, how I wanted to pivot in my career and had these coffee chats, like it led me to getting messages that this is available. You should apply to this, or we'd love to do an interview with you. So those things really are important. And then that goes along with, they kind of combine those. There's referrals from connections, connecting at events like this one. If you can go to any conferences, I know there's a big ed tech conference that's put on with the DOE. And if you can just connect with other people, vendors, if you say, for example, you love using like Kahoot in your classroom, Kahoot hires transitioning teachers, former teachers, because you have the skills and ability to understand how people learn and different subjects. So that's something like you might want to look into when you're going through these conferences and different vendors. Then through your LinkedIn connections, and then through there may be, and be careful. I'll say that the recruiter, the spam from the recruiters or the fake profiles, the fraud from that is becoming more prominent. Like I've gotten text messages recently. I don't know if any of you have. That says, "Hi, I'm a recruiter from such and such. I have a job you might be interested in." I'm like, immediately report junk, because there's no way they got my information from somewhere, especially if it was like I did an application, through like an account or like a lockdown area. Like I know it was fake, and different words were messed up, that kind of thing. So just be cautious when it comes to that. But there are people that do cold outreach. For a while there, I was doing some contractual work in between jobs. Some of that cold outreach really did lead me to some freelance opportunities. So it's a lot to process at this point. After you're going to optimize your profile. You're going to leverage those connections. You're going to find different roles that are available. You're going to apply to them. You're going to see what happens. So after that, you update your profile. You continuously do that. Like I said, it's something that's dynamic. You continue to connect with people through that network. Your people, your space, your support system might become a little smaller, but you'll know people on like the adjacent parts of instructional design or learning and development. So it's important to keep in touch with them. I know a lot of instructional designers like myself also teach. And that's important to kind of leverage your instructors here in the ITP program if you're a part of that, because all of us have been in the industry at some point or another in an L&D role. You identify what opportunities you want to go into. Do you want to be in corporate? Like I said, freelance. At higher education, you prep for the interviews and you follow up and you maintain those connections. Now, somebody asked me, how do you maintain those relationships? Well, typically it starts through a LinkedIn conversation, like the direct messaging. And then eventually it may lead to like co-presenting and doing something together. I usually lead with, if I think they're a person that's appropriate for my podcast, to come on my podcast, and that's how I get to know them. But if you don't have a podcast, I would say through messaging on LinkedIn, but then maybe, having a phone call, having a synchronous Zoom session, you're going to find that as you start talking to people, that you have more in common than you originally thought that you did. So for example, like Luke works at MIT. So I'm like, he's a very, I don't want to say high class instructional designer, but MIT is a big, it's an Ivy League like institution. So I was like, I don't know about this. But through talking to Luke, I realized how much that we had in common, how important it was for us that we shared interest in like salary transparency, helping people get jobs, you know, really sharing what instructional design was. So I think if you continue to have those conversations, just like any relationship, any friendship, it's important to keep in touch. If you're in the same area, meet up for coffee, do something in person. Anytime I go travel with a job and I know somebody that's in that city that I've connected with on LinkedIn and I have developed some sort of relationship with, I want to meet with them. It's a variety of different things that you can do. You're going to be peopled out at a certain point, so make sure to recharge and fill your own cup. But I love talking to other people. I love the 15-minute coffee chats. I just had one the other day and the person came, prepared with questions and I was like, this is amazing. She was just she was in informational interview. She was just asking questions and I was just sharing my advice. One of the things that I want to share with you and I think is so important, and then I'm going to go out to my LinkedIn and show you this, is Teal. Teal is David Fano and his team have built an incredible tool that is not just a LinkedIn optimization, like profile checking thing. He's a job helper AI, writing resumes. There's a whole blog about transitioning teachers and what to do. This is one of the tools and resources that I highly, highly recommend that you get access to, and it's free. There's no charge to it. If you get into some of Teal's other systems or things that they offer, like they do charge you for if you want to see some keywords and other things, but it's so cheap. David is really focused on offering things that are free and available to everyone. So it's important that you recognize that, and that if you do need more, if you're really seriously looking for a role and you want to get more of that like keyword search, like more of the AI stuff, you can pay for that and it is relatively cheap. What happens with Teal, and I'll just show you this so that you can download it, analyze for free, do all the different things. Teal is this add-on, and you'll see it's got a little bird icon. And when I go to my LinkedIn profile, because in Teal you can also save like jobs and stuff that you apply to. You can do a job. They have a great job tracker too, and I use that when I was applying for roles. So when I went to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see the reviewer came up. So the check marks me and I'm doing a pretty good job in these areas. And then if you look at my about, my experience, those might need some work. So what you can do is you can click on the about and recommendations. It's like add certain things. And then they have resources about things you can do. Make it first person, years of experience, core skills, add information about your experience. I think my about is probably just too long because the profile checker never likes it. And then also in the experience section, like it's asking me to simplify what I put in that. So they have a simple formula for that. It's a success verb, it's the noun, it's the metric, it's the outcome. So they have examples here, and then you can use their achievement assessment to help you tackle how to write all that out. It's kind of like building learning objectives in a designing an online class. So I love this. This is all free. This is not something that you have to pay for. This is something completely free that you can tap into as a resource and get started with what needs to change, what needs to be modified in your profile. I'm not saying that it has everything you need to do, but it has most things. You'll see it talks about the profile picture. I have a banner, my LinkedIn URL. I have a headline it likes apparently. So it's important that those things are there. Naomi has asked, what are the best questions you've been asked on an informational interviews? I think the best questions I have been asked is how to get started in the process. And that's when I really go into my choosing your path, what area you want to be in. And then somebody asked me to talk more about and more specifically about the transferable skills from teaching into higher education and instructional design, for going from teaching to like an instructional designer. Back then, I'll say, which is over 2012 is when I transitioned, is like almost 13 years. It's 13 years ago now. One of the things that was happening in higher education is there was this this need for instructional technologists or people that were they were experts in integrating technology in classrooms. So I had a lot of different roles. It was instructional technology specialist, instructional technologist, instructional, what else, they have, there's a variety of different job titles, but eventually that evolved into instructional designer because knowing the technology and how it impacts the learning experience was important too, and that's instructional design. So sometimes you'll see those used interchangeably, and it really depends on the company that you work for. So I think just getting clarity around like the transferable skills and why it's important to know how lesson planning transitions into project management in a corporate space, and how that's a transferable skill from a teacher to a corporate instructional designer is important, and how to write that in a resume, and how to, put that in your profile, or how to develop a portfolio piece that exemplifies that. So that's a good question. All right. I I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this a couple times. I do not have LinkedIn Premium. I do not have LinkedIn Premium. Um, I almost signed up for it before this, and I'm like, no, because I honestly I love LinkedIn, but I have not yet seen, besides seeing who looks at my profile, see more detailed of that, or if I'm a top applicant in jobs, which I really don't know. I have to research about the algorithm of that. I've done this growth through not having LinkedIn Premium. I haven't seen the added value yet of it. I know they may be changing some things on the back end. Working at Yellow Dig, we have a premium LinkedIn page, but so I do not have LinkedIn Premium. You do not need to pay for things. Let me make sure I'm sharing the screen. You do not need to pay for things to access them, to do a good job with them, to connect with other people. I know they do a lot of that in-mail stuff, but I'm just going to say this. You do not have to pay for those things. Okay. You can operate without it. Lots of people put in their contact info here. So if you click on mine, and some people will make that public, you can email somebody. Here's my stuff. It says reactivate premium, 2 times as many opportunities with a stronger profile. Well, I built my profile myself, and Teal's helped me quite a bit, so I'm okay with that. All right. So if you look at your own LinkedIn profile, if you have that up right now, can you tell me an answer to this question? Do you feel like it's at an appropriate point? You can just type in the chat yes or no, where you are ready to share it with potential employers. What I would say to you if you're on the no side is I would start developing a list. If you're a list person, I would start developing like a project plan or something to optimize your profile. And I would start with the top stuff, like optimizing that first, and writing down the things that you need to do, making like a daily list of like, I say 20 minutes a day on LinkedIn. Like people think it takes hours and hours a day. Do not make LinkedIn your full-time job because you're going to get tired of it. Do not make job searching your full-time job. Do not make like, all these like graphic design things your full-time job to get on LinkedIn. You just need to be present. You need to have this information. Use the profile checker. Okay. And you have all those things up here. You can see I changed it to follow instead of connect because under non-premium accounts, you can only have 30,000 connections. Not there yet, but I preferred followers, and I can show you how to do that. And then you have your analytics. This is really going to tell you how things are going with your post, how things are going with people seeing you. And you'll see that I don't have premium, and I have over 5,000 profile views. And I want to tell you that it's because I post regularly. And the analytics can really inform you into how to optimize your profile. Because if you're not getting a lot of impressions, you're not, getting a lot of profile views, you may want to improve things a bit. You may want to post more. You may want to also, LinkedIn rewards you the algorithm for liking other people's posts and commenting on their posts as well. So that's important for you to do. They have different badges and things and actions, a tracker. I will say that what's important to me in the analytics, and not it's not just the past 7 days, because I like to see over time And 7 days is fine if you're first starting out. I like to see over time how things are going. And I normally do like over the past 90 days to see my impressions. I'll do it in a minute. It went up by almost 20%. And then I like to really show myself what's been happening in my profile over the past 365 days. So I have over 1 million impressions in the past year. And I think one of the things I had last year by the end of the year, I had over almost 3 million. This data is important to me. People say don't focus on the numbers, but it's important to me because that means that the posts that I'm doing are getting recognized. I'm building my brand, and also that potential employers are seeing that as well. So I do look at the data. I do make sure that I have regular interactions with the data and take a quick reflection on what that means for me. All right. I go back to home and my profile. See if there's any questions in the chat. Any any questions, comments so far about anything that I've shared?
Hi, Holly. Good to see you.
Hi, you too. Let me
So I did run Till, and they did an analysis of my resume, and apparently it has a lot of work to be desired. So it
Everybody's does. I promise.
yeah. But I did see. I tried to manually make some updates, and it seemed to be it was a little bit cumbersome to do.
Yeah.
But I might wind up just forking over the $12 or whatever. But it looks like I do like the analytics. Just from just looking at it from Till, and giving you some insight or of like how to make your resume. And I don't not saying like make it pop, but more like where there'll be more eyeballs to it.
Right, right. Yeah, I feel on that one for sure. Um, and like LinkedIn is kind of more or less it's not necessarily your resume. It's more like who you are out in the space. LinkedIn is a brand. And I think I've built my brand around being the person that knows a lot about instructional design and the roles in instructional design, but also having the experience as an instructional designer and what that entails, because I can really tell people how to tailor their stuff to doing the transition. Um, and like my about section right now focuses on yellow dig. Before that, it was learning and development. I've included my top still skills. So I think the first areas like you're going to be focused on are this top area and then the about section. That's going to take a little bit to kind of curate and kind of get to a point where you're like, this sounds okay. And I would say too, to share with other people, share with some of your closest friends and see if they're like, oh, this is a really great LinkedIn profile. Oh, this is something I did to improve. You know, what's really interesting? I think that there's a lot more people out on LinkedIn than you think there are professionally. Like if you go search for somebody you worked with in previous roles or like, a former mentor, they're out on LinkedIn. They may not have a great profile, but they're there. They're out on LinkedIn world. They're aware that this thing exists. All right. There's something else I want to share with you, and I'm going to share the direct link. So one of the things, another resource that I think is super valuable for you when it comes to transitioning into instructional design, and I don't know if other people have, and this has LinkedIn stuff on it too. Have you all seen the my curated list of instructional design for people transitioning? If you're in my class, you've probably seen it. Let me make sure that window is shared because I do share that out. So this is something that I've been working on for the past 2 years, and I recently updated it in March. I update it regularly with different resources, but I did an overhaul of it. And this is for people who are transitioning or planning to transition into instructional design, and you just don't know like where to get started. You have no idea. So there's a table of contents here about like where do you want to start first? I want to start at people to follow on LinkedIn, so I'm going to go there. All right. So you see, I have a list of about 44 people you should follow on LinkedIn that are in this field and or have transitioned into this field. There's many more, but these are people that I've interacted with, either doing webinars, I've had a conversation with, I've been on their podcasts, I've read their books. I've I've met with them in person, like I said. I've worked with them, I freelance with them. So these are people to follow out on LinkedIn World. And most of them post regularly and they are willing to have a conversation with you. Tim Slade, Luke, Devlin Peck, Christy Tucker, Robin Sargent. Like these are some of my top people to follow. There's a lot of different ones, and I'm sure I'm missing a few, but you might want to start here. Guides and templates. There's stuff about freelance, interviewing. I know this is getting a little bit off topic on LinkedIn, but I found this stuff because I was on LinkedIn, because I network with people. The resume blueprint, Erin Luber, it's a great tool to use. She has like sometimes she offers it for free so you can download it. But like I have all this different stuff where you really just don't have to think. You just like, I'm gonna focus on books today. I want to read an instructional design related book or how people learn, and it's something like I wish I had when I was transitioning into instructional design because I did not know what I was doing. And I felt so lost in the sauce working in higher education coming out of K through 12 because all I wanted to do was lesson plan and be with the students. So I had to learn that I was on the backside of stuff. So this is a great resource too for you. And another takeaway. And like I said, I do update this regularly if I see something out there. So I'm going to open the floor for any questions that you have. Say thank you for paying attention. This is basically, like a quick how-to on LinkedIn. All I would say is the one thing I would do is just get out there on LinkedIn World. Create a profile, do those things to optimize your profile using Teal and talk to other people. You need to do those things. Any advice on portfolio content? Portfolio content really depends on what sector you're going into. If you're going into corporate, they're going to want to see that you've designed things in tools that they use, like Articulate 360. They're going to see if you're going into corporate and you're doing like healthcare, if you've done anything healthcare related. They want to see dynamic, multimodal things that you have done. This includes videos, this includes presentations, developing e-learning tools. This includes things that you've developed, maybe a project plan, because a lot of corporate has project management. You, as an instructional designer, you manage your projects, you own them, and you can delegate different tasks. But have you designed something from start to finish? And you know what? You can make up your own stuff if you haven't done that yet. Go ask ChatGPT, like, where's the, if you were in my 673 course, where's there a gap in learning somewhere? And you can use the free trial of Articulate, or you can use iSpring or some other authoring tools, anything that you can access for free, and create something for your portfolio. So multimodal, and definitely towards the industry that you want to be in. Education is a little bit different. Education really looks for that you understand learning management systems. So have you ever taught a course? Have you ever worked in a learning management system? Those are in 673, Canvas. You know how to design things through creating modules. You do backward design. So that is a skill that you can showcase through sharing that portfolio piece of the training course that you design. So it has to be something that is very multimodal and showcases a lot of your skills. And I will say, with the recent layoffs and things happening in our government, there's a lot more people trying to get into these industries. So it's important for you to develop a portfolio that is not only unique to you, but something that can really showcase your transferable skills and showcase that you will be bringing, all these things to a team, to the company, stuff like that. One of the things I'll share this that I focused on and learned over the years was I found a lot of gaps in the corporate industry with accessibility and following guidelines that have to do with accessibility. So teachers, accessibility, IEPs, 504s, how all those things work. Corporate does not understand why people need captions and videos. Corporate does not understand why people need different ways of learning, or why they might need a PDF as opposed to a Word document. Because most of the time with Adobe, you can do an accessibility check, and Word has that too, but which one is a little bit better, making things, alt text, all those different things. So like I would showcase a lot and talk about that in interviews about the gaps in accessibility. I think that was a little bit more. That was kind of long.
Hi, Holly.
Hi.
Just
Hey, how are you?
if you remember me.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I just want to ask about the resume, as we are going to be new ones, you have a lot of experience with. So for a transitioning teacher, what tips you want to give us to make our resume like stand out or like more attractive? What
Mhm.
kind of skills we should write in that? Because I was looking at yours under the skill like you taught in the graduate school of Turo and all that, which we don't have. We have only school experience and the skills which we learned during the Turo course.
Mhm. Yeah, I would definitely include the skills that you learn throughout the ITP program. So you have experience with Articulate because you use that in Brittany's 623 course. So you can put Articulate 360 on that resume. And I would focus on, are you looking to get in the corporate space or the education space?
So at the last minute, I don't know, for some reason, I have to take corporate because
Okay.
I
Okay,
before.
so are you, I know if you're going to be corporate in the track, that's fine. But when you graduate, where are you looking to go? Are you looking to go in the corporate sector? Are you looking to go more in the higher education space?
I'm
Where-
looking more toward higher education in the
Okay.
universities and all. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that it's going to be more important for you to understand like learning management systems and how they're operated and how instructional designers support faculty in that. So from your perspective as a teacher, you've been supporting students that have to take an exam or they have to take a certain test or just to be successful they have to do blank. Whereas with supporting faculty, you're directly kind of impacting the students. You're more on the back end of that. So I'd focus on some of those. Again, I've been mentioning those transferable skills. Like I said, lesson planning is project management. I would say if you've ever trained other teachers, informal or formal or otherwise, it's important for you to. I used to do trainings at the board on, they don't exist anymore. They're called the CPS clickers. And I really love those because my students took a quiz on it and then I could upload it to my grade book in between bells. Like it was 5 minutes. So I did a lot of training at the board. So if you've done anything informal or formal, include that because that tells them that you're able to understand adult learning theory, that you're able to understand, KPIs and what people need to get out of it. Because in corporate training, they're really focused on the numbers. They're focused on the return on investment, that kind of stuff. So if you took maybe a unit and you revised it and then you saw improvement in grades like 60% because you implemented said pedagogy or methodology, that's important to show them. They want to see numbers. Corporate likes numbers, the statistics.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions?
Hello.
Hi.
Uh, I have one question
Sure.
regarding the you can apply the job for that. The question is that there are some automation tools available for the LinkedIn, and I have no idea. I have checked, but I don't think so. It's something wrong to use those. So basically, it works when you just give your credentials, the script will run, and it will apply the job like anonymously. I mean, anonymously in the sense of you just have to give your filters
Mhm.
and then it will find out a job. Everything will run through a Python script, or there are maybe some other languages available. So is it helpful to do that, or it is something that we don't do or you don't have to do?
Um, are you saying you're like using AI to help you kind of set up your profile and stuff or apply to roles?
Not specific to AI, it's just about the web scraping. I mean, there are some, LinkedIn's already, all the web application contains HTML, right?
Yeah.
So there are the drivers, there are some Python automation scripts available in the market, and there are one GitHub repo also, the guy who built his own automation script. You just have
Mhm.
to give your username and password of the LinkedIn. Based on that, just give your job preferences, location, searching criteria,
And
how
then it sends
much
you like
you are looking
updates.
for, and yeah, so it will
Yeah.
open the browser automatically, and it will search it and apply job
I
on
think
based
those are
on that.
fine to use as long as you evaluate them on your side. Like anything that's generated like that, like automatically, you're just gonna have to double check to make sure it's doing what you want it to do. You might not have the correct filters in. So I think it's fine to do that as long as you check and evaluate as well. Like anything AI definitely needs to be checked I know there's a popularity around clicking the easy apply button for LinkedIn because it's just so much easier than anything to, for apply instead of filling out an application. But just don't easy apply to everything. Really sit down and fill out some applications to kind of get that experience to see what they're looking for. I recently did an episode with Chelsea Averett about like ed tech jobs and what people are looking for. So I would definitely check that out. She talked about some things like knockout questions. Knockout questions are interview questions where they try to like an ATS system where they ask you, I've seen this done on Indeed. Where like, do you have 5 years experience in this industry? And if you hit no, it kicks you out. It doesn't allow you to go any further. So, kind of getting some information around that too might be helpful when you're searching for these different roles. You're welcome.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Of course. Of course, don't take my word for it. The other thing I tell people is that exhaust the free resources first before you invest in anything. There are tons of consultants out there that want to help you transition into a role into instructional design. There's tons of academies, there's tons of different things that you can invest in and pay money for, but you have to know where you're going first. So exhaust those free resources, learn more about the industry, update your LinkedIn profile, get all that squared away before you even invest. Because one of the things that I found is that people would invest in something that didn't necessarily work for them. And it was a wasted investment. They spent money that like I'm talking thousands of dollars. I had one client that she had invested in a resume writer who did not have any experience in instructional design, who did not have any experience optimizing a LinkedIn profile, and she spent thousands of dollars on promises that this person couldn't keep. So exhaust those free resources first before you invest is another piece of advice I would give. Any other questions? There's a lot more to cover when it comes to LinkedIn, and I could probably do just a like the first page of LinkedIn, just go through that in one, module or one or two modules in a webinar. But like I said, go out there and be active, set up your profile as best as you can, change it, modify it as you're looking for different roles. And just be out there, talk to other people. You never know like that's the beauty of LinkedIn. Like you never know who you're going to meet and what's going to happen and what opportunity they have. I've talked to people who have startups and they're like, Holly, I need help with said, developing said thing for employee onboarding. Can you help with this? Yes, I can. Here's my consulting fee. This is what I expect. You can start your own business. You can be your own boss, that kind of stuff. So let me share the link and I'll make sure that you get access to this too. The link to my presentation so that if you need to go back and share public link, LinkedIn, optimization, copy the link, and I'm going to put it here. If anything, I hope this has motivated you to take a stronger look at LinkedIn and what you're doing out on LinkedIn World, but also in consideration for those of you who said you are transitioning, what you need to do to be successful in that transition. Because it's not, like I said, it's not easy. It's a journey, marathon, not a sprint. And you have to do little bits each day, but you will get there. You'll get there if you put your time into it. I think LinkedIn is one of the only things where I've actually haven't procrastinated on and kept up with over the past 5 years, and it's paid off in big ways. Other stuff I tell my students is I'm a procrastinator when it comes to some things that I just don't want to do, but LinkedIn is something I want to do, so I really heavily invest in it. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you coming and spending the evening with me. It's late at night for us East Coasters. So thank you for your time. I put my LinkedIn profile on there. If you have any questions and former students, current students, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. All right. Well, everyone enjoy the rest of your evening. Go eat some dinner and have a great rest of your night.